Hey, Jesse here. This is a brand new episode of Recovery Authors Podcast with none other than the comeback coach, Mr. Mike Searles. Ooh, did I say that right, Mr. Mike?
Well, my parents preferred Searles.
Searles. That sounds a little more executive level. Searles. I like it. All right, Mike Searles, the comeback coach, which that's not a title you earn easily. And so I'll just give you a little background on my friend Mike here. He's a 63-year-old Australian who lives on a tiny island in the Philippines. He's happily married to his wife of 8 years, has 3 daughters and 3 granddaughters. Now that's a gift. Mike definitely qualifies as one who's living the laptop lifestyle, which means, hell, you guys know what that means. He happens to love living in the Philippines, so that's where he goes. And if he's anything like me, he's never missed a family event, because that is one of the beautiful things about our type of lifestyle. But we'll get to that. Currently, Mike is he's kind of a copywriter. That's where his roots are from. But as many successful copywriters do, he's made a foray into the entrepreneurial end of things, which right now, Mike is coaching people to be happy, healthy, and wealthy. So if those things are of any interest to you at all, I highly recommend you follow Mike, as I've been doing for some time. Mike has a great backstory. We'll get into this just a little bit. We got some time here. We're going to talk and hear his stories in just a minute. But basically, Mike, you, well, let me say welcome to the podcast first.
See, it's an honor and a pleasure, and I've been looking forward to this conversation, and I'm so happy and grateful to be with you and your viewers of the Recovery Authors Podcast. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's an honor to have you. And like I said, I've been following you for some time. I guess we became Facebook friends, maybe through mutual copywriting acquaintances. How did that happen? Do you remember it?
I don't know, but I know that I've seen you as a follower for some time, and a regular follower, and so those names tend to pop up.
Yep. So anyways, I guess we could just say we move in the same circles. Yeah. Now, one caveat I will say, guys, right now, somebody's running a motor down the holler where I'm at now. I have professional mics and so forth in the studio, but it was such a beautiful day. I just decided to risk it and shoot on the back porch. So, Jesus, this goes for a minute off.
I love it. You know why? Well, first of all, take some solace. The sound of the engine is not coming through me. I can't hear it. I can hear those beautiful birds chirping in the background, and that is a terrific noise to our conversation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for. So we'll see what happens here in a few minutes. You are in Australia. So what time is it there right now? 6 p.m. here on the East Coast.
Well, I am Australian, but here I am in the Philippines with my wife and our daughter. And so it's just gone 6 a.m. here, Wednesday morning.
That is interesting. So you just, you don't look like you just rolled out of bed either.
I set the alarm at 5, but I'm normally up at this time each day. I make sure, interesting, compared to the habits of old, I live habits by design today that are designed to keep me healthy and as healthy as I can be. So early to bed, early to rise, that kind of philosophy. And so I've had a good night's sleep.
That is key. And for me, consistency is probably the biggest part of that routine. And definitely fail in that department a lot. But I wonder, is that one of the things that you teach the most in coaching?
Consistency, repetition. Repetition is important. Consistency by virtue of repetition and what needs to be repeated. Well, if you want to dive straight into that part of the conversation, So let's just set this up. If somebody, okay, what does the comeback coach do? Or what does any coach do, generally speaking, is we're working towards helping someone create the future that they want by a mission or a purpose or a desire or an intention or a simple goal, as opposed to a therapist who's working on healing past wounds. So what's the distinction between therapy and coaching? That's the best one I've seen. Therapy, healing past wounds, like, you know, Jesse, what did your mother give you for breakfast, or what did your family give you for breakfast every day when you were 2 years old, and that's probably why you've had all the problem shit, as opposed to future and designing and mapping out. And so repetition, the repetition part of my work is to do with affirmation. And so affirmations have to do with thinking and a thought process. And what I learned, so in my own recovery, in my own comeback from where I used to be, what I did may not work exactly for person A or person B. So that's the first thing I would say, is that what I teach and how I guide people, it's not for everybody. And I'm hard-asked about it. So when I'm coaching a client, I say right up front, I don't need you as a friend. I mean, it sounds really arrogant and it's uncomfortable for me to have to say it. I try and be a kind-hearted, nice guy.
Right.
Pretty much am.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much am most of the time. I can definitely help. But I do say, look, I don't need you as a friend. I've got all the friends I want in my life. I don't need you as a friend. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your coach. I'm here to help you get a result. That's what you're paying me for. And so I will be saying things that are uncomfortable for you and me. That's to help you get a result. And so repetition and doing the things that have, there's principle-based things that I found. You see, there are flexibilities. 12 steps can work for this person. Rational emotive therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy can work for that person. It all depends. But there are principles that work in all modalities of progressing from where we are to where we want to go.
So in the context of recovery authors, do you, I guess I should have known, but it seemed to me that you were more in the vein of mainstream coaching than working with recovery. Is that true?
Correct, yes. In fact, I don't, yes, I wouldn't take on a client who is in active addiction or recent active addiction I wouldn't take a client on for that. And I hope that doesn't disappoint you, Jesse, but that's not my line of work. There are
no, not at all. In fact, I should clarify, my position recently has matured, in my opinion, maybe not others, but at this point in my life, I feel like focus on recovery as it relates to addiction is a mistake. I think that revisiting all that stuff, you know, talking about staying away from drugs and alcohol, going to meetings and hanging out with people and talking about not using or drinking. And I feel like a lot of that's counterproductive. One of the big reasons I wanted to have you on is because I think that an individual who was struggling with drugs or alcohol or anything else, really, for that matter, any addictive behavior, I think that it's basically, we've decided, it seems, that it's unresolved trauma, right? As you alluded to. And from there, you know, if you can find a way to resolve that trauma, then for me, the best thing, as you said, is, you know, it's for me, maybe not for the listener, but is just to move on and try to link up with a coach or invest in yourself so that you can have a goal and something bigger than yourself to move towards. And you just kind of, you know, close that chapter of the book and move on with life, get into the full stream of life.
Very well said. I'm really in alignment with that. And it reminds me of something now. I'm in the camp of people who love the 12 steps, and I don't think I'd be alive today if it wasn't for the 12 steps of AA and NA, the 12-step philosophy. However, the problem I have with it, and this is me speaking only for myself, not impressing this opinion on anybody else, is that there was, in my mind, the ongoing perpetuation of I am a broken person, I am always going to be in recovery, I'm never going to be beyond it. And that didn't sit right for me. And so I actually like the six steps of the final 6 steps. This is not steps as in 12 steps. This is these are psychological steps of progression through recovery. And there is 6th step, which is termination. So there's pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, which is where we do the real shit, get clean and stay clean and sober, maintenance, which is where a lot of people relapse, and then with a good amount of sobriety under our belt, the experience of it, the rebuilding of relationships, health, spirituality, the whole works. Termination. I'm no longer in recovery. Now, I'm 11 years clean and sober. 2009 was like my last out with all that shit. So I'm clean and sober 11 years.
That was quite a one-liner too, I believe, because you were. What was that little story? Could you share that with our listeners? How that came about? How you finally quit? Because I assume you were struggling a lot before, right? Did you, or was this the first time you tried to quit?
Struggling. Oh, if you look up struggling in the dictionary, you'll see my photo. Struggling, that is the understatement of the century. My goodness, did I struggle. You know, I've been in and out of rehabs, psychiatric clinics, hospitals, overdoses, accidental overdoses, deliberate overdoses with an attempt to end my life, electric shock therapy, you name it, until 2009. And yet through all that, I wasn't a street junkie. Now, I don't, you know, it's kind of like a condescending kind of slur on people who are homeless and do live on the street and use drugs, but that wasn't me. I always mostly had a job, a good paying job. I had a good income. I had the means to support the filthy, rotten habit that I had. In 2009, you know, you can only keep that going for so long. So to put it into help the listener and the viewer understand, I self-medicated. So my issue was dual diagnosis. I was diagnosed early in my life with major depressive illness, periodic major depressive illness, and I didn't want that. The last thing I wanted was to acknowledge that I was somebody, a man. I want to clarify that, a man who was depressed. Now, I'm 63, so I was born in the 50s, grew up in the 60s. In that era, it's the way it was. Sexism was the way it was. And men don't get depressed. Pull your frigging socks up and pull your finger out and get on with things. That was the thing.
I like that phrase. Pull your finger out and get on with it.
Pull your finger out. Well, that's how it was. You didn't want it. I mean, depression were men depressed back in the 60s? Well, I was just a boy, but growing up. But men, boys, males, males get depressed in the 60s and 70s. Of course they did. It wasn't out in the open. Who did get depressed? Housewives, women and housewives. That was the thing. It's all changed now, and thanks to conversations like the one you and I are having now, Jesse. Who knows? It could be a guy watching, whoever's watching or listening right now, could be someone, which could be the catalyst for someone who it's a trigger thing. Gee, Jesse and Mike touched on something. That's fucking me. Excuse me. I'm not sure if I can swear on this podcast, but I can.
Yeah.
All right.
You can speak freely.
Thank you. fucking me. They've just talked about me. Yeah, I think it's time I really pull my finger out and do something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's I mean, obviously that's the goal. It's like I don't get anything from this, but it does feel good to give back in that way. But to the bigger point, yes, I think everybody's journey is different. And I remember when I was struggling, like, man, so many times I used to go on the internet and look for a solution. And the only thing that was ever really given to me was forced upon me by a judge when I was the first time I had to go to court mandated 12-step meetings was like, I think I was 20, I want to say I was 27. I was in Miami, Florida, and I had to go to, I don't know, 4 meetings a week and have somebody sign the paper and write which meeting it was and all this stuff. And I always wanted it to work, you know what I mean? Because the judge said I had to do it. And so he's somebody I respect, so it should work for me, right? And it just never did like that, you know. So the bigger point, of course, being that'll work for a few. You said it saved your life. I meet people that say that to me all the time, and I always believe them. But those are like, you know, not rare, but I think the people that it works for long term have some very specific characteristics. And I don't know if have you noticed that at all? Like the few that really get it in that particular program, like have you noticed any commonalities?
Well, I think the commonality is that we need to hit the wall and splatter hard. I do think that needs to be an epiphany of some kind, and normally that is brought about. It's either going to come about from inspiration, information, or some kind of an epiphany of some kind.
Yours came from information, didn't it?
Well, a combination. It was 2009. I'd lost everything. You know, I did say that most of the time I was capable of working professionally, earning a good income. So you know, I didn't have to go out. I didn't have to wake up and think I'm going to go and have to bang somebody on the head and take their wallet. It never was me. That's just wasn't how it worked out for me. But I say that was 30 years. So I started in my 20s. And so come to 2009 when I'm 51, I sat in the doctor's surgery, very sick, very broke. All the money had gone. I'd broken relationships, family, and I had no money. I was still actively addicted. And I sat sobbing, and he said, Mike, if you don't stop, you're not going to survive this year. And I knew he was right. But I wanted it when, and I was suicidal, and I was contemplating to end it. I'm going to end my life. It wasn't that I wanted to end my life full stop, no other circumstances surrounding me. I didn't want to end my life. I wanted it to end. And the only way I could see at that time was to end my life. Anyway, that was the beginning of how it all started. Now, can I quickly tell you the story, because I think it's significant?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah,
So the part of this that I do want to get across. I am not religious, so I'm not going to download religion on you or anybody else. Traditionally, I'm not religious, but I've become very spiritual, and I do believe in the monistic theory of one is all and all is one, and that there is a creator in all things. So that's where it begins and ends for me as far as preaching goes. Preach me, I'm the last person to preach anybody. But this, I couldn't get what I wanted. So we're talking opiates. I couldn't get what I wanted, and I rang somebody, and they said, "Yeah, come on over." It was 2009, and she said, "Come on over." She and her boyfriend, they had been doctor shopping, so they got pills, opiates. And I'd never done pills like that before. I'd never done pills, actually. And I thought, oh, this is in their kitchen, and he, the guy's washing these pills underwater. I'm watching it because I'm intrigued how this process works. How do you turn a pill, a prescription pill, into an injectable, safe injectable, right? He's washing the pills underwater. What are you doing that for? I'm washing the enteric coating off them. Oh, right. Then he squashed them all up, and they mixed it up anyway. They mixed it up. So he's got his syringe and he has his hit, and he drops, slides down the wall. I've seen people drop before, but the way he dropped, and I said to her, "Is he going to be all right?" Yeah, that's the way it works for him. All right. So she has hers, and it's like it didn't even touch the sides. And she had a huge habit. I'd known her for 10 years, so I knew what she was. But then she gave me the syringe. So think about this. I'm about to, and I knew that the potentiality of an overdose was there. Here's the contradiction. I could die. I was suicidal at the time. I could die. I didn't want to do it. She said, go on, have it. She wanted me to have it in front of her. Is that voyeurism of watching somebody else do it? I think that's why, yeah, anyway, we won't get into that. Yeah, so I said, no, look, I'll take it home with me, right? The loaded syringe. Took it home. So to get to the story, just the spirituality part of it. I sat in my bedroom, closed the door, had a loaded syringe on a cage, and as I was about to do it, I kid you not, look, on my life today, I tell you, this voice, I heard it. Don't do it. Stop. Again, stop. Do not do it. Ignored it. Third time, about to do it. Stop or you will die. I kid you not, that's what I heard in my head. I squirted the full contents of the syringe onto the carpet and went straight to the doctor's office, and that's when I sat there sobbing. And he said, if you don't stop now, you won't see the rest of the year out. And that's the beginning of where I am today. So happy and grateful. Clean and sober, never touched a drink or a drug in 11 years.
Wow, Mike, that is definitely, that entitles you to the comeback coach for sure. And it's a great recovery story, man. Have you ever thought about writing any of this up to share?
Excuse me for just taking a sip. Early morning.
Yes, of course. I encourage coffee on this show.
It's the one thing I won't give up.
Yeah, right.
Well, I've got family, and you know what? I think when you say write it up, you mean in a book?
Yeah.
You know, I have, yes. But then what enters my mind is how it will affect family, because there's some shit in there that family don't know. You know, I've got two older daughters from my first marriage. They've got grandkids. They've got kids, so they're my grandchildren. You can write these things up, and I know there's some good stories, impactful stories. So the short answer is yes, I have thought about it, but there's a reluctance there.
Yeah, I understand. Another question, you just mentioned again, family. I definitely want to touch on that. For me, family has been the thing that's kind of zoomed me across the country a couple of times in the last few years. And now I thought I was a city guy, but it turns out I like the country even better. But it's the people out here. And so the idea, let's talk for a minute, if you would, about the laptop lifestyle that you see. I didn't know you were 63. And forgive me for making a big deal out of it, but most of the 63-year-olds I know struggle to block spam calls on their cell phones. So you're in just a little bit different place. You can let's talk about that laptop lifestyle you are enjoying at 63.
Well, first of all, let's think about a contrast. 2009, sitting in an addiction specialist doctor's surgery, me sobbing so hard I had that clear snot dripping out of my nose.
Oh, that's sexy. Sexy stuff
sorry,
right there.
sorry for the graphics, but
No, we like that here.
like that.
Tell it like it was, Mike.
I can go hard, mate. I can go hard. Yeah, so that's where I was in 2000. And now, man, oh man, what a change. So I met my Filipino wife in 2013 online. Same year I started professional copywriting. So what do you do when you start a transformation of life? You're unemployable, which I was, sick, sad, and broke. 2009, started on this program. I was put on a government rehabilitation program thing where we get paid. That's the Australian government has a sickness benefit or something similar. So you get a pension of time. And because the doctor said, I'm going to write you up for this. I said, how can I get back to work? He said, forget work. You're not going to be ready for doing any kind of work for a couple of years. Your job is to get yourself back to healthy again.
Full-time job. Yep.
Yeah, full-time job it was. So, but time. I still had time because, you're traveling to and from a 12-step meeting, maybe 2 or 3 hours out of your day. Well, there's still 5 hours left. You can only read the big book so many hours, et cetera, et cetera. So I got online. And that's when, because my actual background, Jesse, professional career, I started out, now this is a bit of a paradox. The viewer will go, hang on, fuck me. I started out as a social worker. I studied science when I was in my early 20s and graduated as a social worker. How does a social worker end up a junkie and an alcoholic? Well, it can happen. I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but in Australia, in the health professionals, the highest incidence of addiction, alcoholism, and suicide, psychiatrists. Just because one studies human science doesn't mean we did it all right for ourselves. So, but my background, predominantly after social work, I entered the field of sales and marketing, and that was where I found my feet and my abilities. And I was in the lucrative industry of the pharmaceutical industry. So highly paid to do big things, which I was able to do. And why did I get onto that? Where were we, Jesse?
Talking about how you were able to come from nothing from 2009.
Yes. So yes, that's right. Sales and marketing. So I was familiar with the concepts of what goes into an advertisement, goes into a sales documents.
But you'd never done that before? Pre 2009, that was all new, huh?
Well, the copywriting side of it was new to me. I was working with stuff that copywriters had created for us in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. So we had ad agencies, and copywriters in the ad agencies would write so my job in the pharmaceutical industry was all about going to the doctors' consulting rooms and basically selling and pitching them that our brand of paracetamol, for want of another drug, was better than anybody else's. So you prescribe this one to your patients, and your patients will love you for it, and you'll look good. Was basically the pitch. We had promo pieces that we would pull out and use. They were called detail pieces. This study here, doc, you see that was all professionally written. Cool. So I knew the concept of.
I was going to say, for the American listeners, paracetamol is basically aspirin. That's not a term we use over here.
Righto, yeah. Paracetamol is just like aspirin.
Yeah.
Similar to aspirin.
But you're in the drug game. I get it.
Yeah. So in 2009, I had embarking on my recovery. I had all this time, and I stumbled on copywriting websites, copywriting this, copywriting that.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee, I could have a crack at this. And so I started learning copywriting. I had some money come to me, not through earnings, not illegally or anything, but just some money came to me, and so I was able to invest in a copywriting course, and then another one, and then another one. And get this, Jesse, my first paid copywriting gig was $35 US through the old Elance.
Oh my! Oh man, so much to unpack. So real quick, you got me beat. Mine was only 20, I think. And then, go ahead.
I can guarantee you your copy for $20 would have been better than what I wrote for 35.
I doubt it. So, the other thing I want to mention, what I wanted to touch on was that you had a government basically tell you we're going to support you while you get help.
Yeah.
It's an interesting policy. We don't do that over here either.
Yeah, I know. And here in the Philippines, it's even worse. Like, if you're unemployed here, you're unemployed. That's why there's so many beggars. I want to mention something about finances. This is not to do specifically with addiction or recovery. It has a lot to do with the future. Because don't give me love, give me money, right? You can't pay your electricity bills with love. You need money. And so that often misquoted passage from the Bible, money is the root of all evil. That's not it. It's actually quoted as the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is not the root of all evil. You need money. And the more money you've got, more money you can share. Now, that's where I'm going with this. I want it all. I want as much money as I can get my friggin' hands on. I'll tell you why, because the more money I've got, the more money I can share with others. And I'm not just bullshitting you here. I do that here. My wife and I, we give a lot of money away, and we're happy to do it. Now, the beautiful thing about that, and this is where the principle of the law of attraction works. Like attracts like. The monistic theory, one is all is one. There is this one energy in everything, man-made and creator-made. Money is energy. Money is not, there's no value in the paper or the polymer notes or the coins. It's an arbitrary value on something of where the molecules have been so arranged that we have metal or we've got polymer notes or paper notes. There's no value in that. Value is in the energy. If you give the energy away, guess what happens? With good faith, energy comes back to your multiplier. That's one of the messages I would love to get. There's no recovery message in that. It's a principle. Your actions, your behaviors done for the right reasons will come back to you multiple. You want to speed up your goal, your mission, the manifestation, the realization of your goal, your mission, your purpose, whatever it is. Stop fucking thinking about yourself and start thinking about other people and what you can do for somebody else. Give love away to get more love. That's a message I'd love to pass on.
I feel like we need to close on that note. Mike, that was terrific, man. But yeah, I like to even take it down. So that's one of your points. I love to go into the words bit because every day I hear people say things to me like, I can't help worry about that. Or, all these disempowering, horrific things that we're not even aware of saying. How much do you go ahead?
Well, let me just grab a book. Excuse me, you're going to see my ugly, skinny legs in a minute because I'm wearing shorts here at the Philippines and it's hot.
Podcasters, you should have seen this on YouTube.
I'm an avid reader. Most
Yes.
copywriters are avid readers. We love
No,
to read.
sorry, most good ones or most well-paid ones are.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Good, clarification. It's a great book if the viewer or the listener is a copywriter or interested in pursuing a career as a freelance copywriter. Get this book. I'm holding it up for the viewer, but I'll mention the title for the person listening. It's Words That Work. It's not what you say, it's what people hear.
Boom. That's it.
Now, how does that tie in with what you said about quoting about, I'm really worried about? So when we say, I'm really worried about not having enough money, that's what our subconscious is hearing. I don't have enough money.
I don't.
Well, there's a self-perpetuating, self-fulfilling prophecy there. I'm going to mention something that I hear. It's very common with people living in North America, where you're from. I don't know whether it's a state-related thing or it's a regional thing. I don't know, but it's kind of. I'll state the sentence and you can pick it up. It's kind of like when people do this kind of like, and it's kind of like this, and it's, well, it's kind of like that, and it's kind of like, but it's kind of like, more like, kind of like. Well, I've got to, where's that from? Right? I've got a client who I coach, and he was kind of like this and kind of like that, and I'm kind of like that. And I stopped you.
How do you coach him out of that?
I'll tell you, fucking stop saying kind of like. That's part of your problem. You are in a uncertain frame of mind.
You don't really want anything.
Your lexicon is blocking you. Kind of like what? It's either black or it's white. It's not kind of like.
That might be the title for this episode. Your lexicon is fucking you. If true, listen to this.
It's true. It's like I learned years ago when I was being, and I've been coached, counseled, consulted by, you name it, social workers, psychotherapists, psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, you name a helping professional, and I've been a patient client of them over the years. And one of them made a point, just listen to these little things that you remember. I hope there's something little from our conversation that the viewer or the listener can pick up on that could potentially be the turning point, the catalyst. Anyway, the sitting opposite, it was back in the days when you didn't do this round table thing or sit side by side. I was one side of the desk and the therapist was the other.
Right.
And he said, might try and pick up that pen. He had a pen on his desk. Well, I picked it up. He said, no, put it down. I didn't say pick it up. I said, try and pick it up. What the fuck are you talking about? Well, this is a mindset thing, he said. You either do something or you don't. Forget trying. You're not trying to change your life. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. You either pick the pen up or you don't pick it up. And that's kind of like these little nuances of work, because words are so powerful. Copywriting, how powerful are words? This is our bread and butter. As copywriters, we use words to our clients, help them make money. Bottom line, it comes back to money again. I think I might even become a money comeback coach one day because can I just mention a book, please, Jesse?
Yeah, sure.
All right. If anybody's got money worries, and even if you don't have money worries, you notice what I just did then? Words that work. It's not what we say, it's what people hear.
This isn't your book, is it?
This is not my book I'm mentioning.
Is this a friend of yours? Do you get anything out of that?
This one? No. Look, he's got Frank Luntz. Anyone interested can look it up.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I haven't read it myself. I'm going to order it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a goodie. It was recommended to me by an A-list, A-grade copywriter. The book I want to recommend. It was written now I'm going to pause for effect here. It was written over 100 years ago. The author's name you kind of can't forget because it's a weird sounding name, Wallace D. Wattles.
Yes, I know this book.
Right. Yeah. Science of Getting Rich. Yeah. Science of Getting Rich. Well, guess what? I can quote from that book, and I'm going to right now because I've read that book and listened to the audio version on Audible of that book hundreds of times. Nice. Here comes a quote. And we've got how much time? I know you've got a time restraint.
We got a few minutes left.
All right, here we go. I'll speed up. I'll double my rate of talking. This book helped me stay clean and sober. Hang on, Mike, you're talking about money and finances. This book helped me stay clean and sober because it got my thinking right about manifesting and creating. Right, correct. Here it comes, the quote. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. There it is. A thinking stuff, a creator, one creator, not religious, spiritual. Anyway, the science of getting rich. And if you're not somebody who is struggling with a mental health issue or substance abuse or addiction, or if that's not your issue, if money and the shortage of money is an issue for you, if you want more money to do more with and help more people yourself and share more of it, read The Science of Getting Rich, read it, and don't try and put into effect what it states. Don't try, just friggin' do it and watch what happens. You want proof? Look at me. I am your living proof of that book working.
It's an incredible comeback, Mike. I feel like we just kind of got you going towards the end here. It's unfortunate we couldn't do a 2-hour interview this time, but we'll definitely have you back on the show down the road. I like to have regular guests, check in with them and see how they're doing. Anything else you want to share before we sign off today?
Well, I've got, first of all, I want to thank you, Jesse, for having me on your Recovery Authors podcast. I was humbled by your invitation, so thank you. And I've enjoyed this too, and I would love the opportunity to come back and have another convo with you. I've got a PDF, 5 steps to get back on track fast. It's a free PDF. All you've got to do is go to MikeSearles.com. I imagine you'll put that in the show notes, but MikeSearles.com. There's nothing for sale there on that site. There's nothing to buy. Even if you want to buy something, you can't because I'm not selling you anything. It's just a free PDF. Pop your email address in there and you'll get the PDF.
I thought it was enormously readable. I downloaded it and we read the whole thing in one go. So definitely easy to do on that front, which is really kind of the key with things these days, to have something that's easily digested. Anyways, guest appearance by Jerry Martin, my girlfriend.
I love that backdrop. Where are you right now, Jesse?
So I live in Leesville, South Carolina, which
beautiful,
is one of these tiny little towns. Yeah. So
I love that backdrop.
Oh yeah, it gets a lot better, but yeah, we got lots of dogs and animals around. And,
I love it. And another time we'll talk about how Dr. Joseph Murphy, who wrote the book The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, that's something else I should recommend as well. And it's another conversation. If we do have another convo this year, please remind me to discuss the benefits of that concept, the power of the subconscious mind.
Yeah, maybe we could devote a whole episode to that. That'd be a really good way to transition.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, again, it's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for coming on the Recovery Authors Podcast. We'll let you know when this goes live. And again, to all my listeners and viewers, if you want to hook up with Mike, he's on Facebook, and we'll put the link to his free PDF in the show notes, along with the books you recommended. Mike, thank you so much for being here, and early, I might add.
The pleasure's been all mine, Jesse, and I mean that.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. From one brother to another, man. Have a great day.